Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome back for another episode of Behind the Bell. My name is Mish Matthews, and I'm here live at MarketSite. And today we have two very, very special guests joining us from this morning's opening bell ceremony. Today we have Roy Paul, who is the ED over at Sensibility, as well as Alexa DuPont Bell, who is the co-founder at Sensibility. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much for having us.
So we just finished up the opening bell. How'd it go?
It was great. I think that we were a very enthusiastic crowd.
Very enthusiastic and very honored to be here. Yeah.
It was loud and great, and there was a lot of clapping, so I was very excited about it.
Yeah.
Well, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Would you mind just telling me and our audience what Sensibility is and kind of what drove you to kind of create it and design?
Yeah, so Sensibility is an organization, a nonprofit organization, that its mission is to teach kids the fundamentals of finance. And when I say kids, I really mean teens. People who are starting to work with money, maybe earn money, maybe have the opportunity to save money, and really understand the ins and outs of how to manage it, because it's an effective tool. And Roy's our executive director and leads the organization today and can speak in detail about the things that we do. But when I went to found it, I was with a friend named John Moore, and we were literally just speaking one weekend. We were just out of college, and I had been volunteering at a great nonprofit in New York that was teaching basically social studies, like how cities work and how the fire department and police department are structured. And we were just at the same time talking about ways that people our age could make an impact. And one of the things that came up was that we were marveling at just how much money things cost. I mean, you're in school and you can take out student loans, but when you graduate, you have a really high rent bill. You're earning more money than you've ever earned. You're needing to sort of like buy your groceries and not just go to the dining hall and pay for it at the end of the semester. And so we really decided that maybe there was a way to tackle that with a volunteer organization. And so we thought about creating Sensibility together. And the name came out of really just saying, okay, it's sensible. There were so many puns on it.
It's so perfect.
I mean, it's nice of you to say that. We're like, it's sensible to manage money sensibly, Sensibility. Also having the word ability in there, like we're really teaching people to have a skill. And also the C has turned into sort of a piggy bank, but at one point it was a sense sign, so we played a lot off that.
Now it's a piggy bank with some really cool sunglasses on.
That's the,
Sun never sets
the
on
latest
Yeah.
the latest version of
That actually came from our volunteers. So they were saying, listen, you know, we really want to speak with teens in a way that they accept, and the teens were asking why the piggy bank wasn't cool, so they put sunglasses on it.
So how much has the organization grown in the time that you started it and up until now?
Well, significantly. 14 years ago now,
Yeah.
Odd to say that, 14 years. It really started with Alexa and John and a couple of their friends. It was entirely volunteer ran. And Connor and a couple of other people, Connor McGee, who's on our board of directors, was the first volunteer executive director. Now we have, of course, a full-time staff and a couple of more coins in the bank to support the mission, and then looking to expand the organization beyond the borders of New York State. And so I think the capacity, certainly, from a volunteer standpoint even, we had a handful of volunteers. Now we have about 500 volunteers that go out every year to do this work. And last year we taught almost 3,000 students, which is leaps and bounds from the handful from 14 years ago. With our partnerships, we have over 100 active partnerships every year, and that is anyone from your nonprofit Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, to the traditional public school system, charter schools, private schools. So we really have a robust portfolio that we have now that we're serving.
So why do you think, I mean, I know why I would have appreciated something like this when I was a teen, but why do you think it's so important now and so crucial for teens to have this kind of nonprofit here in New York City?
Yeah, well, the stats are really real here, and if you look at the numbers, you got a third of Americans with no retirement benefits at all, right? So they're getting to a point in their lives where they're working 30, 40 years. They get to a place where they hopefully want to retire, maybe focus on their grandkids, maybe do a lot of vacations, and they can't do that. Many people aren't retiring because they haven't saved, and 41% of Americans 34 and under have not started saving for retirement. That's a huge chunk of people in the grand scheme of all the people who live in America, millions of people. That's literally millions of people who aren't saving. And it's very simple to do that. We teach the 50-30-20 rule, taking 20% of every check and just putting it away. Don't touch it. 401k plans. You have a lot of teenagers. They have summer youth jobs. They're working at companies, and they're getting access to a 401k plan that they're not opting into because they don't know about it.
They don't know. Yeah, no one's kind of giving them that guidance.
Exactly. And even when they start to transition, whether it's in college or out of college to get their first job, we want them to say to HR, what about my 401k benefits, right? When they give you that HR packet, read through it. There's some very valuable information in there. And if you start doing those simple things as you're early on in your career, by the time you get to the point of retiring, it's going to be an afterthought. You won't think about it.
So, going back to that, what's one of your favorite success stories from one of these teens that you've worked with?
Sure. How much time do you have? Well, there's a whole range of success stories. I mean, we have one volunteer who's been with us for about 13 years. He was a student at Columbia and started volunteering with us and used the principles outlined in our curriculum to now owning his own home, right? Mashoud, who was an active volunteer, wanted to get in a career in finance, and he came to us and he said, I want to get my foot in the door. How can I do that? Can you help me? And one of our major sponsors is Societe Generale, the French bank located in Paris, but they have an office here in New York. And he came through the summer analyst program, was hired full-time after that, and is now working in the Chicago office. So along the way, we've actually helped people develop careers in this industry that they love so dearly, and that all the volunteers love, and that's why they give their time uncompensadedly to do this work. And so we're very grateful for all the people who've been involved.
So from that, what are 3 tactics that you give teens during their time with you to kind of help them?
Sure.
Guide them?
Well, there's saving, the tool about taking 20% and just saving it, don't touch it. Creating a budget. There are a lot of young people and Americans in general, it's always funny because we always say, teens, but there's a lot of adults who could use this advice too.
I agree.
I always say to those adults, come to Sensibility, take our teacher training program, and then go spread the word with the teens,
Right.
Oh, cool. So there's a program as well.
Yeah, we help all of our volunteers learn our curriculum, and it's not rocket science. So in learning it and learning to teach it, you can also learn your own skills and then obviously spread the word and help kids out too.
Sure. Yeah, so creating a budget. A lot of people don't know how to create a budget. And to that, I always say Google is your friend. Just Google how to create a budget. These are very basic things. For me, my real soft point is with those who are going into college. Because we hear so many stories about young people who sign on for that student loan and they really don't understand what they're signing off on. The financial aid office says, you can take out X amount of dollars in this loan or X amount of dollars in that loan. And no one says to them, by the way, depending on the kind of job you want and the kind of career you want to go into, if you take out this loan now, you get 6 months forgiveness period, and then you got to start paying this dollar amount back. And you may not even get a job, right?
Yeah.
So you
Not
have a
yet.
lot of young people, they graduate, they get stuck with all of this debt, and they're really hustling trying to find work. And if you're lucky enough not to freelance, then you have to take that $30,000, $40,000 salary. A lot of people don't graduate making $90,000 a year. And if you live in New York City, you've got to pay rent. And depending on how you want to live here, if you want roommates or if you want to get a studio or a 1-bedroom, you're paying on average $3,000, $4,000 a month. That's insane.
Yeah.
So it forces young people to really be desperate in how they think about money. And we don't want that for them, but they have to understand what they sign up for. And a lot of this can be avoided if they say, wait a second, I'm taking out $50,000. Wait, how much of that do I have to pay back? When do I have to pay it back? What's the interest rate on this?
Yeah.
We want them to start asking those questions.
Great insight on that. One final question. It's kind of my favorite lightning round question to ask folks. If you could dominate any billboard in Times Square and you had a specific message that you wanted to post on this tower, what would it be and why?
Well, we dominated one this morning.
Well,
thanks to
yeah.
you guys. And
Like you said-
we posted a message that we felt was pretty important, So there are a lot of things that I am passionate about in this world. I'm a mom. I really care about, treating people with love and teaching manners and kindness. But in the spirit of what we're doing with this organization, I think that from a sensibility perspective, just having people think before they spend, and also having people have empathy for the situations other people might be in. Because I think that, when I hear Roy speak, and a big reason why Roy is our executive director is that he cares so much about each person's independent issue or challenge that they're facing. And I think one thing that connects everyone that's involved with sensibility from a volunteer or a funding perspective is that we care that other people get this message. And so, think about the people around you, learn, spread the word. That's not just one word. Sorry.
Yeah. That's okay.
I'm emanating those feelings.
And you just said that about me because I'm sitting here.
No, it's the truth. We all heard you speak just now.
Yeah. Well, it's a tagline, but it's always sensible to save. I like that tagline because a lot of people and our participants, they would say, why is this important? Investing in the stock market, why is this important? And you talk to them about wealth building. And especially for a lot of the students that we serve, 90% of the minority, wealth building is a topic they haven't even heard of, right? And so we want to encourage them to open up their mind to the idea that they can invest. A lot of them think that you've got to be a gazillionaire to invest in the stock market. And there are all these free apps. You can invest with a couple of dollars here and there. And you don't have
Penny
to...
slot types of apps.
Exactly. Betterment. There's a whole bunch of different apps that you can download, and they're free, and they help you save and invest your money for long-term planning. So we want them to say, no, you can invest in the stock market. And then we have some real relatable examples. We go through a whole exercise with them about investing in sneakers. And that seems to be a big topic for a lot of teenagers.
They love it.
They love sneakers, and they spend hundreds of dollars. I mean, they don't work, but they find hundreds of dollars to buy sneakers. It's amazing to me, and I think it's wonderful because it teaches them in some ways to be entrepreneurial, right? How am I going to get this $300 to buy
And
these
be the
sneakers?
first in line to get the shoe.
Right. Yeah. There's a
Maybe
whole
you should
plan.
think about student loans before you buy your next pair of sneakers.
Yeah, that's more sensible.
That's more sensible, sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you both for joining us. And thank you for joining us and watching on this episode of Behind the Bell. And we will be back later today. Have a great one.